Hi, welcome to our new lesson and happy April to everyone. So today's lesson is going to be about three-dimensional art, and in our case we're going to make a mobile today. So the thing that's different about a mobile is that it's a piece of art, a sculpture, that moves, and it usually moves by air currents. And if you got the handouts from the library or you downloaded the information on the website, I mentioned an artist named Alexander Calder. And as I mentioned before, when we talked about people like Chuck Close, if you're the first person to do something, you're usually the one who becomes the famous artist. And in this case, Alexander Calder created these mobiles that the wind would slightly move them, and that is considered kinetic energy. And that's what made his art unique at the time. So I'm going to go through our list of what we need to do this lesson real quickly. This is probably the easiest one. So in your kit, you received a pattern like this that has circles on it. You need a glue stick. You need string or embroidery. Now, if you're home and you didn't get a kit, you could use kite string. You could use twine that you tie up the papers in, anything like that. Even old shoelaces would work. Then you need 2 skewers. Now, in the kits, skewers are basically something that you use in the kitchen, like to make shish kebabs to put on the grill. You can find these in the dollar store. You get a whole package, but if you don't have them at home, and a lot of you might not, you can just walk outside and pick up a stick off the ground, the same exact thing. You just need an armature to tie your strings onto. Now, it could be lightweight like that, but if you think you're going to use something heavy, and I'll explain later what the difference is, you might want a stick that's just a little bit more robust if you're going to have something heavy hanging on it so that it doesn't snap. Okay, so that's the skewers. Then you need a pair of scissors. You need a ring or something to hold the mobile up. Now, if you got the kit, oops, sorry about that. If you got the kit, you got one of these metal rings in your kit. But if you're at home and you didn't get a kit, you could use something like the twisty tie from a bag. You could just make this into a circle and make your own ring like so to hang it. Very simple. Or if need be, you could use a large paper clip. You could put your strings on the paper clip and use this to hang it. So that's another alternative. Now, I'm going to show you different ways to decorate the circles. One of them would be to write on it with like song lyrics or a poem. You can use Zentangle designs to decorate the paper, and I'll show you a few examples. And then the other thing that's in the kit is one oversized circle pattern, and that's the one I'm going to use to demonstrate only because it is larger, and I think it'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the materials list. Now, three-dimensional, what does that mean? If I draw a triangle, for example, this is considered two-dimensional. It has length and it has height. But if I proceed to give it width, then it becomes a three-dimensional object. This is also a triangle. It also has length and it has height, but it also has width. And this is what we consider 3D. So sculpture is 3D art. All right, now, in your kit, you have a sheet that has 6 circles on it. To make our mobile, each of the circles and the spheres that we're going to make is going to require 8 of these, 4 for the top and 4 for the bottom. So let me put that aside. Now, there's several things you can do. With that pattern that's on the website or the one in the kit, you could run it off on colored paper and have colored circles, like I did here. Or you could just decorate the pattern sheet. This is not exactly Zentangles, but it gives you that black and white effect of a Zentangle design. You might have at home decorative paper. I happen to have this watercolor paper that I use for another project. I could run that sheet on a copier and have my circles on this sheet, cut them out, and I'll have like a watercolor type mobile. So in your kit, you probably had a sheet that had some just decorative design. You can make up your own. Or you could take the sheet and just color it. I just use colored pencil. And we talked about this last month with a little bit of color theory, but some of these are cool colors, some are warm colors. Sometimes I use the same shades and monochromatic color. So I could make my circles any color I want, and the next step would be to cut them out. But like I said, I'm going to use a bigger circle so it's easier for you to see. So here's my big circle. let me find what I did. Here we go. Ta-da. Okay. So I colored one just with a marker. And then I ran this off and I made 8 copies because I need 8 circles to make a sphere. Okay, so this is what I want to show you. Now, these are like your small circles. Now, the next thing I would do is obviously cut these out, and you're going to, after you color or decorate, whatever you're going to do with your circles, you're also going to cut them out. You want to be careful, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, when you put this up and you hang it, nobody's going to see little imperfections if the lines don't match up exactly. It's not a big deal. Okay, let me just finish that. And voila. All right, so there's my circle. Now, the easiest way to do the folding is there's obviously a line, like on your pattern. You have these lines on the triangles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold this over carefully on that line. There's one. I'm going to fold this over. It might be hard for you to see the line, but I can see it from here. And then my last one. Okay, now I'm going to show you on a mobile. You have 2 choices here. Here's a sample that I made. Okay. So this sphere, you don't see the black lines because I folded them in the other way. The yellow one, you can see all my black lines. So it depends on what you like. If you don't want to see the black line, then I'll show you how to fold it and glue it together so you don't. Now here's one that I made where I didn't really use Zentangles, but I decorated it and I put different sayings about kindness. Kindness is never wasted. Try kindness. Spread kindness. Kindness is cool. They all say something different. So this is my mobile, and I have 3 spheres on here. Now, in the directions, what I tell you to do is to make 2 strings shorter and 2 strings longer. So the longer first string is the string that I have the hook attached to, and I tied it to the center of my skewer, okay? But the next 2 strings, the shorter ones, are going to be on the sides, and the reason you make them short is if there's too long, if the wind blows, these start to get caught up with one another and it gets a little complicated. So you want these 2 kind of short. And then the second long string that I had you do is going to be for the third one, which we want to hang at a different level than the first 2 because you don't want them banging into each other. Like when the wind blows this, they will move on their own, but you don't want them constantly hitting each other. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to make today. Now, how do we do that? Okay. All right, so I showed you how to fold this. I have one more to fold, and I'll show you how we put it together. So again, I'm folding it this way because I need to see the line. My eyes aren't that good. All right, I'm going to fold this one over. Same thing. And finally this one. Now, to make the ball, you're going to have all your circles cut out. Well, first you're going to color them, decorate them, cut them out, and then do your folding. Now, to put it together, I'm going to bend these back the other way. I already folded them, so there should be a crease right there. There it is. Okay. I'm going to fold this one back. Because in this example, I want this to show. So I'm folding it this way, back again. Again, the crease is there because we folded it already. Okay. All right, so there's one. This one is my second one. Whoops. Folding it back. I already folded it the other way, so the crease is there, so it makes it easy to turn it this way. All right, so there's another one. Okay, 2 more that I did before I started the video. Turn it the other way. Turn this the other way. Last one. And again, the reason I folded them the way I did to start with is I need to, for me, speaking for me, I need to see that line. So if you feel comfortable folding it this way right from the get-go, that's fine too. So now I have 4 pieces. Now, if I take any 2 pieces, right, I'm going to take my glue stick. Now, I'm going to do it on the table. I'm going to lay my circle down. I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to put it on one flap. Now I take another circle and the flap that has the glue, I'm going to line it up with another. Now, I would suggest not putting glue on both flaps because it's very, very tacky. And if you put them together and they're not exactly where you want them, it's a little difficult to pull them off and reset them. So I only put glue on one of them. All right, so now I have two that are together like so. Now I'm going to take a third one. I'm going to take my glue stick. I'm going to put glue on a flap. I'm going to take another one of these, put it right next to it, whoops, put it right next to it and lift, press my flaps together. Now I have three that are attached. Okay, so I have one left. So now when I lay it down, I'm actually going to put glue on both of these because there's only one flap left and that'll make the bottom of this ball. I find it easier to glue if it's flat on a surface. That's why I'm laying it down. Right now, last one. I have one piece left and we have three that are attached. So I'm going to lay it on the table and I'm going to line up my edges. And over here, last one, and voila. So now I have four of them together. That's what they look like on the inside. And I put four together previously, so I have a top and I have a bottom. So now the trick is, and again, this is a much larger version of what you have. Yours are going to look like this. Okay, so now what do? Well, I'm going to take my glue stick. I'm going to glue these four flaps. You don't need a ton of glue on it, but if the one place that it's important that you have it is towards the ends because you want these to stick together and keep the ball together. So, and the reason we're not using Elmer's on this, Elmer's obviously is a liquid, even though it's thick viscosity. And liquids would tend to make the paper wrinkle where a glue stick won't. So now I have a top and I have a bottom. And the bottom, I have glue on the flap. So now I'm going to put two of these together. See, that didn't line up exactly. This is why I don't want glue on both. I want to be able to pull it apart if I have to. And then I'm going to reposition that. And this one, let's see, like so, put it together. Okay, and last but not least, this one. So now, from our circles, we have a three-dimensional sphere. So to make the mobile, the easiest mobile would be to have three objects, two on a branch that are on the equidistant, and then something down below. So this is how you would make the ball. Now, to hang it, basically we're just going to use whatever you have. If you have embroidery thread, which was in the kit, if you have string or twine, that works just as well. So the trick is simply take a piece, and then what we want to do is on the end, I just want to knot it several times so I get kind of a ball at the end. And nothing fancy with the knot, so I'm just knotting it like a plain old knot, but I'm knotting it over and over in the same spot so I get like a little knob on the end of my string, which is easier said than done. Okay. Oops, there we go. All right, so you can see now I have kind of a, if you can see it there, kind of a knot on the end of the string. So how do you hang the ball? You go back to your little intersections here where the pieces came together and find one where there's a little bit of a gap. Like here, there's a little bit of a gap, so that's good. I'm going to drop my ball down into there. Now, it might need a little help with, like in my case, I might need a pencil or something, or my scissors. I'm going to kind of poke it down there. There we go. Okay. So now, whoops, try that again. Put my string in there. Okay, now, the best way to close it up completely would be to take a little bit more glue. And in this case, I might switch to Elmer's because this ball's a little bit heavier than what you're going to make, and I don't want it to come apart. And I'm going to put a drop of glue right where that string is. Okay, oops, and it doesn't want to stay in there. Okay, now the only patience that you need is to let your glue dry. So when you put your strings on, it's going to take a few minutes for it to set. You can also use the glue stick, but you'd have to pull them apart a little bit more to get the glue stick in there, where Elmer's glue, you can literally just put a drop of glue in there. So these strings have to dry a little bit before you try to hang them, otherwise they'll pull out of the ball. Now, constructing it. Okay. So the first thing I did, I tied my hoop, or in this case, if you don't have a hoop, again, you can use something like a bread package tie, or you can use a paper clip, and you're going to tie one string to this. Then, with one of your branches, go to the center, approximate center, and tie a knot with this string near the center, all right? And then put a little drop of glue on it. You can use your glue stick or you can use Elmer's. And that's just so that you have a little bit of time for this to dry. Then you have two strings that are not quite as long, and those are the two that are going to be on either side of the main string. So once I have the balls with the string in them and they're dry, I can tie the other end of the string onto my branch. And this one, the same thing. I have the knot from the string in the ball and it's glued. And then I tied the other end to here. Now, this is the only time you need a little patience besides putting the string in the ball. To get it to balance, it's best that this is dry so that you can hold it. And while you're holding it, you can move these back and forth along the branch until they're approximately, they don't have to be level, you just don't want them like this. You want them to be fairly level, like so. Once you get them to where you think they should be, what you could do is take a piece of Scotch tape and just tape it on there for a moment while you get the other one situated, and put a little piece of tape. Then when you're ready and you're sure that's where they're going to be, take your tape off and put one little drop of Elmer's or your glue stick. And if you don't have that, if you have clear nail polish at home, it does the same thing. You can put a drop of clear nail polish on here. This is plastic, basically. And it will dry and it will keep them in position. Then the last thing you're going to do, once you have your string on for the center to hold it, hang it, you have your two balls on the first branch. Then the last ball that's left is going to be on another long string. And this string, again, I'm going to tie it approximately to the center. I'm going to have it come down and I'm going to put my third spear on here. And then I'm going to hold it so that I get all three moving independently of one another, like so. Now, that's if you only do 3 balls. I'm going to show you how you can expand this and make it a little bit bigger. But can you use other things? Absolutely. Once you've done that and you've learned how to make a mobile, you could make mobiles out of anything. Now here's one I made out of a branch from the yard. I had a piece of driftwood and a couple of shells. I used blue string to kind of simulate the sea, the ocean look. Now, the only thing different about this, it's not that it's different, but something to keep in mind, this object, the driftwood, is much heavier than the other two. So in this case, I needed the driftwood to be in the center because that's the heaviest object. If I had something super heavy on either one of these ends, it wouldn't balance as easily. These are approximately the same weight, so they balanced fine. This is much, much heavier, so I had to put it on the third one. Okay, now, you can also make a mobile that has 5 parts. When I used to teach design at the high school, the kids had to make a 5-part mobile. So basically it's the same thing that we just did. The only difference is now there are 2 branches. The first branch exactly like we did with 2 spears, and then another shorter string with another branch with 2 more spears, and then here's my bottom one down here. So now I have 5. And the thing that's nice about this is these will move independently. When the wind blows, that might move, and you can see that the top one doesn't. So there's a lot more movement when you have 5. Now I only Scotch taped these on because I want to show you what they actually are. These are Christmas ornaments that are made the same way, with the same pattern that you have, with old Christmas cards. So months from now, if you remember this, you could take cards that come in. You can use your pattern to cut these out. You can see there's our little circle, and there's our folds. And you can make very nice gifts for somebody with Christmas ornaments. Now, If you're lucky enough to go to the National Gallery in Washington, D.C., there's a huge Alexander Calder mobile in the east building of the museum. And again, it's kinetic, considered kinetic. Now, when you talk physics, kinetics might mean energy. But when you talk art, kinetic means it's something that moves. So that's the beauty of having a mobile. Now, if you get ambitious and you want to try one that has 5, you could have a theme. Like suppose you like Marvel. You could have one that was Iron Man themed. You could have, this could be, who am I thinking of? I'm drawing a blank. Captain America. So there could be the colors, like this could be like the shield, Captain America's shield. Your circle could be the Captain America shield. You can also use other paper, like the pattern I gave you, you could print it out on anything, and you can use it, suppose you have comic books or magazines. That's great paper for making a mobile because it's a little bit thicker. So you could use your pattern that you got and you could run it off and you can make themed, like where you draw art on one, maybe the other one is made out of a comic book page, the other one might be just the color schemes for Iron Man, gold and red, depends. Okay, now, also in your kit, if you got it, was this enrichment sheet. And basically this is a more intense version of what we did. In this case, you would need 20 circles, where we only need 8 to make our little sphere. You would need 20 to make this one. But it's assembled the exact same way. You have your little triangles, you glue your top together, you make a bottom just like it, and then you take 10 of them and you line them up and you glue this flaps together like so. And then what happens is you connect this flap to this flap and you have a circle. And with that circle, you drop the top on, you put the bottom on, and you have kind of an icosahedron. It's kind of a cool thing. Now on the other side, I gave you some other examples. If you have wire hangers, which sometimes if you use the cleaners, they'll give you clothes back on a wire hanger. If your dad has like wire cutters, you have wire cutters, you snip these and you can make an armature that's pretty elaborate, made out of old wire hangers. And I think that's everything that I wanted to cover with you, how to make a mobile. I'm sure they'll come out fabulous, so have fun with it, and I'll talk to you next time. All right, bye-bye.